Hey folks, and welcome to the latest installment of Dave's Impressions. This time around, Skyrim. Our Elder Scrolls journey is at an end as we embark upon a snowy Norse-inspired adventure. These impressions were taken from playing the game for around 9 hours and 30 minutes. Enjoy! Everything I've heard about the opening of Skyrim being tedious is true. A slow cart ride where we can only move our head is not the best foot forward for a game about the freedom of exploration and building a character. It put me in such a state when the dragon attacked, I didn't experience awe. One, because I could hardly see it due to the angle, but the timing just felt wrong. It was only afterwards, when the world opened up, that the game picked up. It was during my exploration of the Bleak Falls Barrow, the combat, the traps, the progression, and the treasure. Here I saw what the game is. I understood what has been enchanting players for all these years. As for the dragons, while they never gave a sense of awe and wonder when I encountered them in the wild, they sure did instill a sense of fear and respect. The first one I had to save scum to defeat. The second I only managed to topple because of the NPCs nearby helping out, keeping it distracted. And the third, when I saw it flying overhead, well, I got the hell out of there. While the scores of bandits falling to my weapons made me feel powerful, there were plenty of other creatures I encountered on my travels that were too much for me to handle. The frost troll guarding the steps to the Greybeards is a good example. I needed to get stronger to defeat it. I went off adventuring, making sure I had a few more levels of experience under my belt before returning. A better weapon wouldn't go amiss either. The classes I end up choosing in these games keep surprising me. I've mentioned before how I enjoy thief characters in RPGs, but in Oblivion I became attached to the bow and arrow. The same can be said for Skyrim, but that's not the weird part. Most players find archery useful as an opener. What I wasn't expecting was to gear my character towards two-handed weapons, not even a shield this time. There was something early on about the gleeful thunk of a final hammer blow that made me keep a two-hander on my person at all times. The adventuring in Skyrim has an organic quality to it. We overhear a conversation in town before talking to the people involved, and it sends us off on a quest. Or we ask an innkeeper about local rumors before wandering off where there might be adventure. Building my character felt similar. Yes, Skyrim continues the style of leveling from the previous games. The more I use a weapon or skill, the higher its level. But the constellation system increases such customization. I felt I wasn't spending my points effectively, but the more I thought about it, every star in each category is a bonus. If I were to ignore placing points in this system and just play the game, I would continue to become stronger in weapons, armor, and restoration magic, which I began focusing on later in my playthrough. But adding points to these skill trees adds greater benefit. This is why the class system has been done away with in Skyrim. The developers were already heading down this road in Oblivion. Having to choose a class seems superfluous. In Skyrim, they allow the player to focus on what interests them. It creates a chicken and egg scenario. Do we place points in the constellation because we've been using that skill and want to boost it further? Or are the benefits of placing a point there interesting enough that we decide to start focusing on the skill as we play the game? It means that whether a player lets their character develop as they play or starts a new game with a specific build in mind, there are no wrong choices, despite how I felt when I was choosing where to place my points. In my impressions video about Oblivion, I gushed about the architecture and how the way the buildings were designed was a visual highlight of the game for me. In Skyrim, it's the landscape. I grew up around the mountains, rivers, and forests of the Pacific Northwest in the United States. The brisk chill of the wind, the roar of the rivers, and the lush greenery of the trees of Skyrim fed into these memories, and how I have a connection and disposition towards this type of scenery. I love how walking from town to town, the way they're spaced means as long as we sleep in an inn, there's always easy travel on the roads during daylight hours. It allowed me to take in the world as I walked from place to place. Oh sure, I used the fast travel system, but only to places I visited before. There must be a mod to make such restrictions hard-coded into the game, as well as to make switching between weapons less cumbersome. But of course, I'm playing the game as is, despite the series' reputation for allowing players to impose their will on how the games look and play. Playing Skyrim all these years later allows me to max the settings and to see the game in its greatest glory. Being able to see the mountains in the distance adds to the atmosphere of Skyrim as a living, breathing world, and increases my desire to spend more time in it. So, should you play Skyrim? Well, out of all the Elder Scrolls games, this is the one I want to return to. I thought it would be Morrowind because of my previous affection towards it, but while I have heard many fans of the series bemoan the streamlining of each subsequent Elder Scrolls game, I've enjoyed it. Skyrim removes the extraneous factors that can distract the player interfacing with the world. It's more adventure over role-playing game, but it feels like this is always what the series wanted to be. It's not restrained by the abstractions of simulating a pen and paper adventure. I'm exploring a world and gaining power and wisdom as I wander through it and overcome challenges. If you haven't played Skyrim and are interested in a first-person action adventure with swords, sorcery, and dragons set in a snowy Scandinavian scenario, you'll see why millions of players have spent hundreds of hours in this game world. On the other hand, it still contains elements of clunkiness. The menus and interface take more time to use than they should, and even with the addition of the Fallout 3 kill cam, combat is not as exciting as it should be. It's because you're either powerful enough to kill the enemy, or you're not, and with potions and positioning that can change, but it never feels like the player's skill is what led to the outcome. Finally, I have a question I'd like to ask. We're at the end of our Elder Scrolls journey. I have now covered every single Elder Scrolls game on PC until the next game in the series is released. However, there is Elder Scrolls Online. Those who watched my impressions video on World of Warcraft Classic are aware while covering an MMO is possible, it presents challenges and a larger time commitment. Would you be interested to see an impressions video on Elder Scrolls Online? If there's enough interest, I'll be happy to check it out and start working on the video. Do let me know what you think about Skyrim down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video and this series, why not buy me a coffee? There's a link in the description. If you want to help me out in other ways, please give the video a like, share it on your favorite social media sites, or subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, I hope you're all having a wonderful day.